learn to communicate.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Am I live?
I'm looking. Hold on. Refresh.
Look at, there's Ryan Gosling right there. Okay, Leslie Williams is here. I'm live.
There you are. There you are.
Okay. Claudia's on, what are you on? FaceTime. Yeah. So here I am. We are live with Joan in Learn to Communicate with Animals with Joan. And so we have all kinds of fun stuff coming up, and I've got some great stories to share. And that's it. So I hope, I'm sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. I don't know what this thing is. Can you hear me?
Let me see. Hold on.
Can you hear me?
I'm going to mute myself so I can hear you.
All right, I'm talking. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so welcome to Live with Joan. And I can see that a couple people are on.
I'll tell you what, that you stop looking at the comments. I will tell you what people are commenting. Oh, Val says, it's the sweater. It is. I agree, Val. I'm all excited.
I wore this because Claudia and Val pulled, I'm used to looking over here. I have to look up here because the phone is different. Anyway, they said they liked the sweater, so I pulled the sweater out.
And whose sweater was it, Joe?
It was my mommy's. It was my mom's sweater. Yep. Anyway.
Okay, so Leslie Williams says hi. Jen
Hello.
Says, welcome back, Joan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Val says good morning.
Good morning.
And Tanya says, everyone, good morning.
Good morning. So, yeah, I'm back from quite a trip. And I'll talk about that in a moment. We'll let some people come on and see what's going on in the world. And if you're new, please say, if you're going to say hello, well, this isn't the only requirement, but I'd love to hear where you're from. And if you're new to us. So anyway, and if you're new to me, my name is Joan Ranquet. I'm an animal communicator, author, TEDx speaker, founder of Communication with All Life University, and we have classes and programs in animal communication, energy healing, animal medical intuition, animals in transition, animal ambassadorship, and nature and wildlife. So we have all kinds of amazing things coming up. And we have trips, lots of trips. So we've got a dolphin trip coming up in June and a trip to Tula Tula where we can hang out with elephants in South Africa in September. So I'd love to have you join us. And that's it. Are people coming on?
Yeah, Mary Kasmar says hello from Reading, Pennsylvania.
Hello. Okay, that's it. She does this to me a lot, and usually she's sitting behind the camera, but I can even see it out of the corner of my eye on the iPad.
Oh my God. As a director, I would kill you.
I know. I can't help myself. I'm that person. Anyway, so yeah, please come on, say hi, tell us where you're from. And, this time of year is for me a big time to look forward. And so I thought it would be fun to kind of look forward with all of you. But in the meantime, I wanted to say that some of the things that you could look forward to doing with us are we have so many things coming up. We have animal communication. Well, right now we have a sale, a deal, if you will, on the spring intensive, and that's kind of our number one thing that we're promoting right now because we used to wait a bit, and the truth is that now's the time you want to kind of get your hotels, maybe share a room with someone, some of the other people coming, think about sharing a car with someone. And let me tell you a little bit about the spring intensive, which is super fun. It's in person here at my Ranquet. It is 9 days long. It's 3 days of animal communication, 3 days of EFT, emotional freedom technique, and, you know, I did write this book called EFT for Animals. So we do 3 days of animal communication, 3 days of EFT, and then we do 3 days of animal communication in sanctuaries. And we go to some extraordinary places. We are with wildlife. We are with farm sanctuary animals. We're with, you know, in a conservation center and also in a wildlife sanctuary where animals had been part of the film industry or part of the, you know, the people that think that they should buy a monkey. So anyway, we have all kinds of extraordinary things coming up. But that 9-day intensive is truly one of my favorite things. And I call it the renewal intensive because, you know, the spring is always a time to renew. And it's sort of like renewing our vows to ourselves about what it is that we want to be doing. And I know for me, I had a life that I loved, being in the film industry, but not compared to the life that I love doing this. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but about, you know, how we get there to our envisioning our goals or our intentions for the year coming up. But anyway, now is the time to start thinking about that, to get your flights, or maybe you live here in Southern California and you're going to stay at a cousin's house. I mean, whatever it is, you know, we're in a time, like, I fed horses in the dark this morning. And I know that I just tell myself when I wake up and it's still dark out that, like, it's only 12 more days before the light starts turning the other direction. And I live in Southern California, and so we have a lot of light with the sunshine here. But I know what it's like to live somewhere, like I lived in Seattle, I've lived in Missouri, I've lived in Denver was also very light. But even Florida could get dark, you know, with the clouds and what have you. So it's like, this is a time of year that we want to create that thing that we look forward to that includes light and fun and healing. And there's nothing quite like the spring intensive, the 3 days of animal communication, the 3 days of EFT, and then the 3 days of animal communication and healing in sanctuaries. And so that's that. And that's April 5th, is that right? What are the dates for that? Yeah, we need dates for everything, please. I want to say April 5th to
Hold
4th.
on. Yeah, it's the same as last year. I remember that as this year. April, pulling it up right now.
It's April
4th through the 12th.
April 4th through the 12th.
Yes.
And that's a 9-day intensive. And yeah, so it's fun. It's also an opportunity to be with your tribe, be with people that are a lot like you, be with people that share a love for animals and animal communication and healing and all of the things. So it's really an important time to kind of solidify those things for yourself. Is anyone else here?
Yes. So, Shiloh says hi.
Hello.
She says hi, Shiloh. Hi, Shiloh. Holly Tobias is saying to Mary that she's not too far from her in Pennsylvania. Shiloh says she was able to sign up for a few more online classes. Thanks for the specials. Yay!
Good, yay. Yeah, good.
Linda Gage says morning.
Good morning.
Charlie Kale says the in-person classes intensives up-level your skills and abilities dramatically. I wouldn't have missed them for the world. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the other thing, maybe you can't make it here in person. And what we've done this for years, since COVID. First we had hybrids where it was like, oh, I can't make it in person, but I can do it online. But the truth is, it was fantastic when we first started doing it. But there was one weekend where we had the animal medical intuition class, and I didn't have it as a hybrid. And the relief I felt, because I felt a certain pressure for making sure I was delivering to the people online the same thing I was delivering to the people in person, which is impossible. I mean, we can go ahead and say they're getting the same thing, but the only way I can offer the same thing is if I am completely 100% focused on the online. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we have immersives. We created immersives. So every single thing that we have in person, we have a weekend version of it. So, for example, we have an animal communication immersive coming up in January, and it's a Friday afternoon from 3 to 6 Pacific time, and then all day Saturday, 9 to 5 or something like that on that Saturday. And that is what day?
January 24th and 25th.
January 24th and 25th. And right now we have a big deal. I mean, we have a deal on the immersives and the intensives, 20% off. And so
20% off and is paid in full, and 10% off with payment plans. And there's different payment plans, so you can talk to me and I can get you set up.
Yeah, and Claudia's a master at payment plans. So, you know, you could start a payment plan now and have everything paid off by the immersive or the intensive or the immersive. And we have a ton of bonuses, right? So we don't just throw you into this. We've got the bonuses, especially if by next week. What is next week? We have an intro class, right? 1, 2, 3.
On the 18th.
Yeah, so you want to talk to Claudia before the 18th, because if you're going to do an immersive or an intensive, you get these intro to animal communication. So you're going to get some online material, you're going to get these intros, and therefore you've got all this opportunity to communicate before we kind of get in and get down and get dirty. So did you put your link in there for your Calendly?
I'm putting it right now.
Okay. Because you want to talk to her and get on a call and get going. Yeah. And it's really, this is the time of year when we start. I know that I do what I call kind of dream time starting now, where I just spend a lot of time looking at what do I want? What do I want over this next year? What do I want over the next 5 years? And we'll do some stuff with that in a few minutes. But that's what's coming up. And then we also have a Death and Dying immersive coming up in February.
February 21st and 22nd.
February 21st and 22nd. And then we also have the usual spring semester starts right after the intensive. So, you know, if you wanted to get in on some of that, that could be very good. And we are in also.
Joan,
yes.
We have the bundle pricing for the immersives too. We have a bunch of specials.
We do have a bunch of specials
for the immersives. So get on a call with me.
Yeah, and I want to pull up something. I'm going to pull up so your little face might be showing. I'll try to hide it. There. I hit it. Okay. So this is my big news. Here's the cover of the Animal Chakra book.
It's showing mirror image, so it's backwards.
Well, you can still see the cover, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. I just wanted to let you know it's backwards, that's all.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so the Animal Chakra book is out October 2025, but already it's, the cover is done. Yeah, and the promotion, they're starting to put it in catalogs and things like that. So it's very, very exciting.
We have comments.
Okay.
Jan Remian says, wow, how exciting. Charlie Kale says, beautiful cover. Leslie Williams says, I love the cover. Shiloh says, yay. Oh, and Wendy Kundef is here. Hi, Joan.
Hi, Wendy. I was just thinking about you this morning.
Tanya says, stunning cover. I second that. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. So.
And Catherine Heller says, October 2025, noted, way cool.
Yeah, it'll be very fun. And we'll start, it's so crazy because we have to start. I'm submitting this book to a bunch of things. This book isn't even that old. It's only a year and a half old. And this, by the way, is a great holiday gift. If you are, or get it for yourself, if you know someone who's maybe got some issues or some challenges with their animals at home, this is a great book to help you get started, to kind of unravel and help to do some EFT around shifting the emotions that are underlying the behavior. I mean, as much as I like to say we shift the behavior, I think the most important thing to note with animals is that you're really shifting the emotion that is underlying the behavior. Any other questions, comments?
Wendy says, I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, we need to chat, Wendy. Yeah. Okay. So, so we have a whole series of things coming up. We'll make sure that the new schedule for 2025 is in here. You want to get on a call as soon as you can because the bonuses, I mean, especially if you think about it, one of the bonuses will go away next week because it's a live class. So please get on a call with our friend Claudia, find out what you can do, how you can get going. We would love to see you. And I have to say that I am leaning toward more and more, really doing more live events. I love doing live events. I love being in person. I just got back from a 3-week trip where I was live with people in person, and it was just really fun to share that experience with others. And I think that's the thing about an intensive is it's not just, I'm going to learn animal communication, but you're sharing the experience with people who want the same thing as you. Maybe not exactly the same thing. Maybe you want to, work in a shelter and maybe somebody else wants to work with elderly animals. But either way, it's like coming to it with this intention of animal communication. So it's very important that, we link minds and hearts and move forward. So that's that. Now, wanted to share a little bit about the trip. Linda Gage will remember that we were, chased by a lion. So I have a fun story to share about what happened. We had a walking safari, and, our guide was just amazing, as guides are on these trips. And here we are in Tanzania, in Tangier Park. And I know Linda's been to Tanzania. I'm not sure. Who all has been to Tanzania? It'd be fun to see. And who's been to this particular park? Because it was really magnificent, and there weren't a lot of people there. So anyway, there we are on a walking safari, and we're looking at some fossils and some things and some. We happen to have somebody who had graduated from the program named Emily, who is literally a geologist. And then we also had her partner, Lisa, is a paleontologist. And then we had David, who was my friend Yasmin's husband. So we had all these brainiacs with Earth. And so we're like literally examining the formation of rocks and how they had fallen out of this area. And the next thing you know, we hear this weird sound and we look over and there are two lionesses coming at us. And we literally all just stood erect, and the guide cocked his gun and said, "Hey!" That startled Penelope. "Hey!" "I know, come here." So that alone, we just all stood still, and those lions like stopped in their track. And they just stopped in their track, and then they kind of backed away, and then they were far enough away in the evening light. I didn't get great photos, but I did happen to get the same sort of photo that I'd gotten last year of the lion. And there's a look on a lion's face when they think we're going to do something. And they're mortified. They're like, it's like a betrayal. I mean, maybe I'm anthropomorphizing and making something up around this, but I just cannot express enough how surprised I am to see that fear on their face. And so anyway, the lions backed up and laid down. I've got another picture of them. And you see, it's really fuzzy because it's far away and the lighting wasn't great. It was evening. And there are two lionesses and some little baby faces. And, you can see like why they're so protective, and it so reminds me of everything. And this is why I said about the EFT book, when we understand the emotion underlying behavior, that's when we're really going to get to it. Because that look on the lion's face of, uh-oh, what are you doing in my territory? Are you a threat? Is a reminder to me of what our domestic animals are going through almost every day. Like, we don't take into account how much we might not be creating safety for them, or how much they need safety to do that next step, to do that next thing. And that's something that we need too, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But anyway, so I've been charged now by a lion, and I've been warned by a lion in Zimbabwe, and I've been charged by two lionesses in Tanzania. But anyway, they were quite lovely and just hung out. We didn't see them again, but we saw plenty of other things. And then, if you've seen my photos in the group, we had 3 different cheetah moms and their babies. So the first cheetah mom had 2 babies, the second cheetah mom had 3 babies, and the third cheetah mom had 1 baby. And each of those experiences were so amazing. I mean, the moms are definitely habituated. And I saw a little bit of like discomfort with one of the cheetah babies that went over to the other one. So it was easy to see who was the leader of those 3 cheetahs. But it's really, I'm getting a weird feedback on this. An amazing thing. That's a terrible feedback. It's really an amazing thing to sit with and observe and take in and commune with these animals. And then I'll tell you more about what else we did. I'm going to turn up the volume. Has anyone commented?
Oh, Susie says, you are home. I'm sitting with Harry getting lunch.
Hi, Susie and Harry.
Rafael Antonio says, good morning.
Good morning.
And now I know what you mean by him being funny, because I've made friends with him on Facebook, and oh my God.
He's ridiculous.
Yeah. Trisha Wentrex says, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Oh, Susie said lost signal. Grr. Okay. And Rafael Antonio says, wow, where did it go? What an experience, Joan.
Yeah.
Leslie Williams says, I love seeing all your photos.
Thank you. So then some of the other things, some of the other adventures we had was we were able to, so from Tanzania we went to Kenya, and in Kenya we only did one thing and one thing only, which is a Tumba camp, a Tumba camp is one of the many Sheldrick Trust wildlife centers, rehabilitation centers for elephants. And Tanya and Linda, and I think Bernadette is here. A lot of you have been there with me with these elephants. And you'll be happy to know that there were not as many elephants, right? There were only like 15 or 20, although they just got, when we left and more elephants were delivered. But their program is really moving and is really working. And I'll tell you a little bit about their program. So what happens is, whether it's due to the human-wildlife conflict, weird trafficking, poaching, trophy hunting doesn't really happen in Kenya, but whatever it is, I mean, it could even be, and again, this is a human-animal conflict because sometimes, you know, we've had to build a well for the animals, and maybe the baby falls down the well, and eventually the herd moves off. And whatever it is, there are an enormous amount of orphans that happen in Kenya, orphan elephants, orphan everything, but the Sheldrick Trust focuses mainly on elephants, although they do have a giraffe and a rhino right now. I know. And every now and then they get like bush bucks and other things, but their main focus is elephants. So, you know, elephants are very family oriented. So they come to the Sheldrick Trust and they are integrated into kind of a system, if you will, a family system where they each get a human, and that human moves around. So they never get attached too much to one human. And if you look at the structure of an elephant herd, in many ways, that's what happens is, you know, a mama gives birth, and then there's several other mamas, and there's almost a nursery within. If you watch elephants in the wild, the babies kind of play together and they move together. They might, you know, single file walk with their mom a lot, but they're also with their cousins and their friends and their sisters and so they move around a lot with others their age. And so from there, they stay for about 6 to 8 years at the nursery in Nairobi, where they go on a walk every day and they learn to forage because they're given a bottle, but, you know, your survival is dependent on your ability to forage because there aren't bottles in the wild. So the next step are these 3 in rehabilitation centers, one of the 3. There's a Tumba camp. There's another one in a place, I forget what it's called. And then there's another one where sometimes they'll never leave that place. Like for the ones that have really been injured, maybe they really only function on 3 legs or whatever, they never have to leave that place. So they live in, you know, in a herd that is safe. But at Tumba Camp is where we stay, and we get to be with them. We get to see them for breakfast, for lunch and mud bath, and dinner. And to watch them, and what they're doing in between is they get that first bottle, like at 6 in the morning, so we have to be there at 6. And then they move out. Now they've been given a different guy, right? They've been given a guy, so they wear bright green. The dudes wear bright green in the nursery in Nairobi. But here at a Tumba camp, it blends a little more. It's a lighter green outfit. And they walk with these guys out in the wild. They make a big, giant circle, or they might go another way by the side of the mountain. But either way, they walk for a while, they forage, they learn they watch each other. It's amazing to watch how they watch each other. So they watch each other and they start foraging and eating, and they might go through this area and eat just the trees, and then they might eat some of the grasses off the ground. I mean, I think like horses, they forage on about, horses in the wild would forage on about 43 different things. The elephants are the same. And then by lunch, they come in to this mud bath area. There's a big pool. And they get another bottle, and then they get the opportunity to either get in the pool or roll in the mud. And it's just, they're so silly. I remember Tanya has some of the best pictures and videos ever of just I mean, the silliness, the pure joy. And I think there's two things I learned about forgiveness on this trip that is so moving to me. Number one, the ability of these animals to not stay in their trauma, because at some point they lost their family, but they've been able to almost return to innocence in a way. And that mud bath is every ounce of joy and innocence and all the things that we want for wildlife, right? That lunchtime mud bath is it. And so that is an extraordinary experience to just be with them. And when you come on a trip with me and we go there, we get 3 experiences with the mud bath. And then Rwanda is another experience of forgiveness, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So that's it. Then we come and see them at dinner. But one of the most moving things for me was a lot of wildlife, a lot of the ones that, so eventually this idea of walking out into the wild every day and then meeting for lunch and then coming back to camp is, the idea is that they're going to meet other herds. And apparently in this area in Natumba, there are 12 herds, and 10 of those herds have orphans that have integrated into their family system. Now, we had one of those herds. We got there at 6 in the morning, one morning, and one of the herds slowly, the night before, actually the first day we were there, that evening when we came in to see them, there were a few of the wild herds a few from one of the herds had come, and they were all ex-orphans, and they brought in some other elephants. And I'm telling you, this could bring tears to my eyes as I share this. So in the camp, and Bernadette, I saw that you're here, and Tanya, you'll remember that there's the first they call it barracks, where the most recent orphans live. And then it just kind of graduates to this barracks over here. The gate is left open sometimes at night because they can go out and join a wild herd and come back if they need to. And sometimes they go out for like 3 or 4 days and then they come back. And then they go out again. And like there's one matriarch who is about to leave, but she knows that there isn't another matriarch, so she stays. Anyway, in these barracks are, various stages of orphans. And what just sent me over the edge was to watch the wild herd come and see the babies meet these orphans that are behind the fence. And that was just the first night there. Mina, I'll never forget that as long as I live. Each of the 8 or 10 babies came and greeted the orphans in the barracks. And and for those that have been there, Linda, Bernadette, Tanya, it was the barracks that was down at the bottom there, the one that they leave open. And it was so moving. I couldn't. even believe it. So that was one of the most powerful things, you know, because those little, it's like giving hope to little, you know, you're going to be with us. You're going to be with us. And then the next morning, more wild elephants came, and there were like 10 orphans, the ex-orphans, and 2 of them brought their babies. So there's a little baby, if you see in my photos. I'm going to be putting up more photos. I'm not done with the photos on my good camera. I'm pointing to my desk over there because I've got to photo edit some more. But I have photos of this baby that's not even a few weeks old. It's just unbelievable photos. And those are very, very, very powerful. So it's this one mama, and this is her 3rd baby, but she's an ex-orphan, and they never forget. And in fact, I've told the story before, they will bring wild elephants if they're injured for help. But they bring in their wild friends, and, you know, the keepers name them, and so they all have names, and they all have these incredible stories. But there was one ex-orphan that stayed with us, stayed back, and she's pregnant, and she wanted her stomach rubbed. So we had to sit and rub her stomach. And it was just unbelievable. And the babies do anytime. But we sat and we scratched her stomach for like a half hour at least. I've got a million videos. And I know. It just... I think that's what we all want, right? Is relationship with them that is non-threatening for either. And that's, I think, what elephants and apes, gorillas offer us. And then don't even get me started about the gorillas. So that was extraordinary. That was kind of like, then the next 2 days we didn't have any of the ex-orphans there, and we got to really focus on, you know, getting to know these elephants. And I think, like, that's what we want. And that's what Tula Tula will be too, a different set of elephants. But I think we want relationship. That's what we want, right? I mean, that's what we have in our homes. And being out there in the wild with them, you know, when I went before, and Linda, and we had this incredible experience with an elephant named Ambo. I was really hoping Ambo would come back, but he's busy being wild, which is the best news ever, because that's also what we want more than anything in the world. But we want to know that, like, we can be in relation to each other and have this element of peace and safety. And it doesn't even have to be super deep. It's deep just the fact that we're connected, right? Like, that's what we want. Anyway, I had no idea I was going to go down this bunny hole. So I think next week we'll focus more on where we want to be in the next year. But it was just super moving. And I'll talk about gorillas. How are you doing over there?
I just unmuted myself. Wow.
Is anyone commenting?
Yeah. Sorry, I have to work. I forgot that work. It's not just you and me. Tanya says, I still have the mud spot on my arm.
Oh.
Sandy Galindo says, this is amazing in every way. Since I've been a child, I've dreamed of going to Africa. And the care of the wildlife has always been near and dear to my heart.
Well, I think...
Oh my God, hold on.
You need to come.
Your beautiful experiences have allowed me to live those experiences vicariously. Charlie Kale says, incredibly moving, we're just transfixed. Jan Ramian says, beautiful stories. Holly Tobias says, very moving experience. Yeah, Joan, the story, first of all, the babies being greeted, and then the mama asking for belly rubs. That would have taken me down.
Yeah, you would have had such a Claudia moment, you would have scared the shit out of her.
Not
I'm kidding.
But yeah, it would have just, wow. And she's an orphan, so.
She's an ex-orphan, yeah. So, you know, they know what it's like. And Linda and Tanya and Bernadette would remember that, like, some of them come up and scratch their ass on the cement, and like we get to scratch their butts, right? And then this group was really. I've got to plug you in because you're about to go away. Something keeps flashing, and it's like, oh, battery is dead. Okay, there we go. Yeah, yeah. It's incredible. I also can't tell you, and I would love for those that have been there with me before, the peace that we feel. Like the first day in Tanzania, we did a meditation. We had some elephants not far off. By the time everybody opened their eyes, we were surrounded by wild elephants. Surrounded. And that's the sort of thing coming up with Tula Tula that we experienced, because those elephants really loved us. And, you know, again, going back to like that fear factor, one of the things that we do is definitely bring our energy in, and we become safe for them. And in that space, even if your heart is beating with the lion, there's enough other of us that are holding that space that even the lions feel like, okay, you're not a threat. I don't need to threaten you. Linda will remember in Zimbabwe how close we were to lions. And, you know, again, this is like, it's such an honor. And I don't want to get too close that I feel like we're invading them, but it's like there's a fine line. And even like these cheetahs were definitely that, you know, they felt safe. And was there some pressure? Certainly, the babies aren't used to it. So, you know, it's an interesting flow, but I know at least we offered a safety, you know.
Yeah, oh, there's comments. Hold on.
Okay.
Leslie Williams says, so beautiful to hear your stories. Sandy says, 1,000,000,000%. I feel our relationships with animals is meant to be safe and peaceful and loving. Even if from afar, our interactions and energy is meant to be peaceful. And Shiloh says, wow, elephant circle. I know, that's...
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But it's you know, we'll go into this more next week, kind of what I call the law of expectation. But it's like, it's what I come to expect, that there's a safety, a peace, a respect, a communion. It doesn't have to be communication. Like, that would almost be too invasive, the way that I like to do trip. Now, we do communicate with the animals in Tula Tula, which is next September. Those elephants, we have permission to communicate with them. We have someone verifying the information. So that becomes like next level. But for me, I'm happy just being in the presence of these great creatures. Anyone else? Okay, so that was very just unbelievable. And that was the end of the trip for several people. And it was really sad to say goodbye to them. Then we had two people joined me for the gorillas, and then two people that were on that trip joined me. And then one guy, Gabriel, who's taken a lot of classes, he joined us for the gorilla trip. And that, I'll tell you, that first day, that first trek, there were these two Belgian guys. I mean, they were cute as button, but they just blah, 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 blah. So we're climbing and climbing and climbing, and I just couldn't help but to think we were literally tracking gorilla shit. Literally. Like, the guy just like, oh, they're very close. They're very close. And I wanted to turn around and tell the Belgian guys to just shut up, right? Because I felt like it goes back to that idea of safety. Like, if you're safe and not annoying and quiet and respectful, it's amazing the experience you can have. But these two guys were very excited, and they were speaking in their, language, and I was enough ahead of them, but I did want to yell, shut up. They were sweet as could be, these two guys, but talked a lot. Anyway, it felt like I knew we were going to see the gorillas, but it felt like we were never going to see them. Just because of this, noise factor, our desire at this point. Because we literally were you can hire a porter. So I did hire someone to carry my bags. But, they want to help you up the hill. I'm like, I hike every day. And you're in the mud. And it's like, I grew up in Seattle. I got mud. But some of the people on my trip struggled. And so I was able to give up my porter to one of the gals. And so she had two porters. And when I tell you that there was mud and we were going uphill, I turned into a gorilla. My physical position, I was grabbing bamboo and pulling myself up the mountain. I mean, it was it's like nothing I've ever transformed into. And I just was silent and just pulling my way up. And at the end, our guide was just this really knowledgeable, amazing young woman from Rwanda. And she said to me, you are a strong woman. And I said, yeah, and I'm old. And she goes, no, you're not. And the two Belgian guys, then of course I liked them. They were like, you're not old. And I'm like, you have no idea. So anyway, it was such an accomplishment to get up that mountain. It was a mountain. It was actually the mountain next to the mountain where Diane Fossey lived. There's two mountains. She lived in between these two mountains. This was the third mountain. And we climbed it. When I got down from that mountain, if I had not even seen gorillas, you have no idea how accomplished I felt. Because the trail was like the luge. It was just a river in this mud. But we climbed up this thing. And so the next thing you know, we get to the top. And there are these gorillas, the silverback, these two babies, and then a young, I think another sister. And I am 3 feet from the silverback. And he just took a nap. And again, to me, a nap is the biggest compliment you could ever get, right? Because they feel that safe with you. Or bored. There is always that. But we had, quite a time. It was amazing to get the other people that struggled up the hill. I'm going to turn you down because I'm hearing that weird feedback. Or if you could mute and then just, yeah. It is something to climb a mountain. I mean, it really is. And then to have that be at the top was unbelievable. And, these two gorillas, I don't know if you've seen some of my videos, but I have posted most of them in this group. I mean, they played and played and played and played. The next day, we went on a much lighter hike. It was flatter, and we had an experience with a huge family. So that was very magical. And again, the silverback was 3 feet from me, just asleep, taking a nap. One walked by and brushed my pants. I mean, it's just, I get the same peace from gorillas that I do from elephants. I realize that. I've been to gorillas in Uganda, and Rwanda's way more expensive, but it is really worth it for another reason. The other forgiveness piece I want to share. But when you do something like that, you're in some sort of self-imposed endurance test, you know? And there's something about it that really brought our group together. And we had that first night, we were so sore we couldn't even think straight. But the last night we spent together after that easier hike, and then we went to the Ellen DeGeneres Diane Fossey Museum, which is extraordinary. And we went to a market where women have made, women that were in not great situations have come together in a community, and they make stuff, crafts, unbelievable work that you will see on Thursday. So there's so what I was going to say is, in addition to like the forgiveness that I experienced with those elephants, like it's just a non-issue, right? But it was a real issue for the people of Rwanda to be in that state of forgiveness. And I followed the genocide that happened there in 1994, and I couldn't believe that other people didn't know about it. Like, I would read it every day in the LA Times when I was living in Los Angeles, and it to understand that these people have such a level of forgiveness and have come together. They have something called Community Day in that country, where the last Saturday of every month, it doesn't matter if you're a political figure or if you're the poorest person on the planet, you come together and you take care of your community. It is the cleanest, safest, most beautiful place I've ever been. Kigali, the city, you could go out on a walk at 3 a.m. It's that safe. It's that beautiful. And I was floored. It was like an old European city with the backdrop of these volcanic mountains. And the people, I can never describe to you how sweet and kind and caring. And I heard stories from people that were Hutus, and I heard stories. Our guide was a Tutsi. His mother was killed. His mother was on a list, the genocide list. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And he shared that with us and shared that he and his father went into hiding. And yet he said that he doesn't look anymore at the division of Hutus versus Tutsis. He looks at everybody as his fellow Rwandans. And I just, I think, what is our problem? We weren't hacking each other up. And they got to that. So I was really renewed by the people and the animals and their care of the planet, their care of that. So as much as Rwanda is a little more expensive, I will go there again because I want to support people that care that much about their country, about the earth, about the animals, and about each other. And anyway, that's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'll be putting up more pictures of Atumba Camp, the close-ups and fun photos, and I'll be putting up more like close-ups of the gorillas. It takes me a while. I only took 1,300 pictures. If you know me, I normally take 13,000. So, Tanya, that's a low number. Anyway, that's it. Has anybody commented?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Holly's bias wants to know where the pics of you climbing the mountain are.
Nobody should see that. I mean, I grunted like a gorilla. I mean, it was game on. I was like pulling myself up, and I just had COVID and some other little like side effects from COVID. Not even a month before, and I'd never had COVID, so I was big fat weenie. Anyway.
Okay.
What?
Big fat weenie.
That's me.
Shiloh says, wow, very cool. Sizzlin' Dowdy says, hello.
Hello.
Shiloh says, those adventures are life-changing.
Definitely.
He says, community day we need to adopt 100%.
I cannot. You can't believe it. Like, you see women with babies on their backs and stuff on their head, and as they're walking up a hill, they're sweeping along because they want their highway out in the middle of nowhere to be clean. Like, that's the level. It's just built into them. It's built in to care for the land.
Shelley Messier says, thanks, Joan. Rafael Antonio says, thank you so very much for sharing your trip experience. Julie Webb says, it sounds so amazing.
Hi,
Tanya
Julie.
says, yeah, that was me. I took about that when I went for...
What?
Tanya, about the pictures. Yeah, that was me when I took about that when I went.
Oh, yeah, about 13,000 photos. Normally, I go through SD cards, but I've been so many times, and I mean that with still great humility. I've been enough that I know that, like, I want to capture somebody's eye or a moment, right? And I don't need to, like, just... And I want to have the experience with the animal and the one photo captures that moment. That's what I've been more interested in. But yeah, it was amazing. And I feel like every single trip that I've done, like all the people that have come on the trips and have trusted me to go, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share this. And we have more trips and more experiences here at the Ranquet. I'm really going to be focusing more on live events, FYI. So stay tuned, because next week we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll talk about dreaming up the next year and the next part of our life next week. But thank you for joining me today. And remember to reach out to Claudia if you want to get hooked up with a class, a payment plan, a direction, what to do, where to go. Thank you.